And we'll bring in the one and only Dave Randorf. Dave, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Good, good. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, buddy, you sound great. I saw you
Just
the other
setting
day
up
at the
my
game.
thing.
Saw you at the game the other day, buddy.
At the Rays game?
Yeah, I saw you enjoying the obviously not the outcome of the game, but I saw you celebrating that Vladdy home run. What a beast, huh?
Hey, listen, I adopted all things Tampa Bay when
No,
I
you
moved here, but I did not abandon my Blue Jays. Sorry,
no, that's fine.
I
That's
grew up
fine.
with them, and we're kind of Canada's team, and it's a thing that my sons and I share
Yeah,
very deeply. In fact, we just went to a game in Toronto too. Boy, I
nice.
was just in Toronto, and we went to a game, and we as we often do, but they've just finished a multi-million-dollar renovation of a stadium up there. And it looks absolutely gorgeous. The roof wasn't open, but
Mhm.
sometimes when the roof is open, you got the CN Tower right above you. It's even more spectacular. And I just was thinking, man, oh man, the baseball fans of this area are just so deprived of a great venue. They've
Right.
got a good organization with some great history. There's a baseball fan, strong baseball
Mhm.
fan base here, Rays fan base here. We go to games a lot
Yeah.
since I've been here 5 years. We go to a lot of games. And boy, it'll just be a new world when this saga finally ends, and you get we get a great state of the art stadium as this market deserves.
I'm with you, buddy. Hey, I had Nigel Kerwin on the program yesterday, and I said, Nigel, you watch any hockey after the Lightning get knocked out? He goes, it's a good week to 10 days where I'm not watching the TV at all. What about you, buddy? After the Lightning season's over, are you right? Are you one of those people that are right back into it? Do you need a couple days? What kind of guy are you?
No, I'm right back into it.
Yeah,
This is the best time.
yeah, it is.
It would be better if the Lightning were involved,
Mm-hmm.
but we wait for the playoffs all year long, and I think it would be like I get it. Nigel, video coach for the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're another step or two closer to
Right.
it than I am, but so maybe they need a little separation, a little downtime because they're watching games and breaking down games and breaking down all these different things that the coaching staff asks them to do. So they maybe need a break, but I love it. I do love. I thought the first and second rounds were excellent overall. We saw some fantastic games and some great game sevens, and I think this Final Four conference final round. Listen, the cream is rising to the top, and the two heavyweights have emerged, and it's going to be a rematch. But I'm still enjoying it. I don't do it because I have to. I do it because I want to.
I love it. Yeah, I'm the same way, buddy. Yeah, I saw the bad news this morning that Zach Hyman getting surgery. He's going to be out for the playoffs. I mean, this is a guy that he's fit in so well with the
Mhm.
Oilers, being that third man after Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And I ask you this with the assumption, and I know we should never assume in sports, but I think just looking at the series and how they've gone, if Edmonton and Florida do meet up once again, what is it? How is it going to be different than what we saw last year? Other than the only other two times this has happened in history, the team actually came back and won. What was it? Islanders, Oilers, I think. Islander,
From
Oilers.
from 3-0.
No. The teams that have played in back-to-back years.
And
The other
what?
team has won. So obviously the most recent one was Pittsburgh and Detroit,
Yeah,
and then the other one I want to say is Islanders and Oilers, but I could be mistaken. But
you've
yeah,
lost me.
yeah. So there's let me explain again. So if the Panthers and the Oilers meet in the finals again, it'll
Yeah,
be the third time in Stanley Cup history that the same two teams will meet back-to-back years.
only the third time.
I think that's what it was. I
Wow.
don't know. I have to
Okay.
look it up. I have to look it up.
Anyway,
It seems
well,
like that's a wrong. So what
it's
would
gonna
be all
happen.
right? So my question is, why would it be different this year for the Oilers? What do they have to do to win?
I think it's lessons learned, right? And I think we're seeing that right now. And if you're watching that series, the guys involved, the crews involved, are telling the story very well. That Edmonton is not just this run and gun team that's going to
Mhm.
let you up in the power play and score 4 or 5 goals and rely on McDavid and Draisaitl to carry the mail and maybe some other goals from a few other guys, including Hyman. They are defending. In fact, part of the interesting and kind of fun storyline to this one is Connor McDavid in recent weeks has becoming a little bit defensive. He's
Mhm.
almost jumping the questions now, going, "Hey, listen, we can defend. Will you back off with that line of questioning?"
Mhm.
Because for years, That was the fatal flaw of the Edmonton Oilers. They had a
Right.
lot of good pieces, but they couldn't defend individually or collectively. Those are two different things. But they just couldn't get it done at crucial times. Yes, they almost came back and had a miraculous comeback last year that was driven by a bunch of different things. But this year, if you just look at the last two games, they've held Dallas to a total of 8 shots in the third periods combined. And none of them, I've watched all the games, none of them I can think of that were dangerous. There's a big difference between a
all
shot
to the
on
outside.
goal.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a big difference between a shot on goal and an actual scoring chance. So I don't know what the breakdown is there. I haven't looked. I take a break from the deep analytics metrics in the offseason, but the eye test tells me they are just snuffing the team out. That's the sign of a championship caliber team. Now, of course, Florida's doing the same thing. As they picked up, they flicked the switch, man. As soon as they hit game 1 against the Tampa Bay Lightning in round 1, even though they went into those playoffs not really playing great, they've quickly reverted back to their platform too. So I think you're going to see a very tough, hard final if indeed we end up with Florida and Edmonton. Yes, the Hyman injury really hurts. But this Edmonton team is deeper than it's ever been in the last 6, 7, 8 years. They are deep. They are built well. They are probably going to get Matthias Ekholm back on the block. They've been doing this all without their best all-round defenseman. So teams do carry on. Right now, the Panthers are without Sam Reinhart. I don't know. I haven't seen any update today whether or not
he skated today. So we'll see if he'll be in there tonight. So
okay, well that's better for them than being completely ruled out. But they've managed 2 wins without him too. So teams do move on, especially when you are this close. It's almost gives the other depth and role players extra sense of urgency to play the best hockey of their lives, because your stars are going to be your stars, or you hope they are. It's now dependent upon other guys to get elevate their plays and their roles a little bit. And history has shown that some guys can do that, and Edmonton's going to have no choice. They're going to have to rely on other guys like Corey Perry, who's only played about 500 playoff games or whatever he's up to now, and he's got 6 goals. I mean, hey, he got another one last night. He's got 6 goals, and he's still getting it done at 40 years old.
Yeah, it's amazing to see what Corey Perry's been able to do, and that's part of the reason why the Lightning brought him in a couple of years ago to try to help.
I never thought he'd still be going. Honestly, when he left the Lightning, I thought that was his last hurrah, and here he is again.
It's amazing, man. When you look back at that Lightning Panther series, more about what the Lightning didn't do or what the Panthers did do, Dave?
Both. I think I've already just said that the Panthers quickly got back to their game, and they've got a I don't give a you-know-what attitude. They will. I mean, listen, everybody hated the Ekblad play on Hagel. Everybody hated it. Mm-hmm. That stuff happens in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, it does.
That stuff happens in the playoffs. Look at what they're trying to do to is it Hintz?
To Rupe Hintz.
Yeah, Hintz. Yeah. They're whacking at his ankle last night.
Right at it. Yeah.
They're not even trying to hide
They're not even hiding it.
So, it happens. It's nasty, and I'm not defending it for a second. I think Ekblad is a dirty player. I think he crossed the line way too many times. But if you want to take that one specific instance, nobody on the Lightning did anything about it.
Yeah.
Nobody. And that is uncharacteristic for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They are usually you want one man, you got us all kind of thing. And normally they are. And in that moment they weren't, and they didn't have enough pushback. They didn't have enough physical fortitude. I don't want to say backbone because that sounds a little too critical. Right. But at the end of the day, they got pushed around. Mm-hmm. They got pushed around by a team that they looked like the Lightning did a few years ago. That's exactly what they read the Lightning's playbook. They thought, we're getting tired of being the second banana in this state. The Lightning are the Lightning this, Lightning that. Well, that's because they were doing exactly what the Panthers are doing right now. And the Panthers got tired of it. They started building their team in the mold of the Lightning, and they've been getting superior goaltending. Sergei Bobrovsky has found the fountain of youth somewhat in this stage of his career at 36 years of age. He's put together 2 excellent playoff runs, and he is to me, that really is gratifying to see, because it shows you how much runway Vasilevsky has left.
I was thinking the same thing.
You know, one's got 300 wins, the other one's got 400 wins, and they're both proud, strong competitors. But so again, to get back to your question, the Lightning didn't do enough, nearly enough that they had before. Their power play, didn't get it done, and their best player, Hagel was knocked out. Kucherov did not have the impact on the series that he had hoped that he would have. He hasn't scored a goal in 50. These are just facts. These aren't critical statements. These are just facts. He hasn't scored a goal in 15 games in the playoffs. And you need that. You absolutely – right now, the Dallas Stars are going, what happened to Rantanen? Where's he gone? You look at the Stars, and where did it go? That's the cold reality of the postseason in the National Hockey – in any postseason.
Yeah, no doubt. And I was catching a lot of heat for my Tampa Bay Lightning post-mortem because of my thoughts on Nikita Kucherov. And it's not personal.
What were your thoughts in a nutshell?
I think that he's severely underperformed. And people talk about the pressure, and they do this, and not a lot of other teams do this. But my whole thing, Dave, I don't want to hear from anybody, well, if the Lightning played any other team, they would have advanced. That's not the point. Like, we didn't say that in 20 and 21 and 22. Like, if you want to be, this team is not, all right, let's just make the playoffs. You have Stanley Cup aspirations. You have multiple time Stanley Cup champions on this team. It's goal or bust. This isn't a team, little engine that could. Look at the upstart Lightning. We're not the Montreal Canadiens here, right? Oh, wow. They're going to glean a lot of experience from this that's going to help them in the future. Like, your expectations and your perspective are completely different. And when your best player goes 15 straight playoff games without a goal, like, there's no excuse. Like you said, it's not an opinion. It doesn't mean you don't think he's a great player. It doesn't mean you don't think he's going to snap out of it. Doesn't mean that you're disregarding what happened in the regular season. But facts are facts. He didn't score enough goals. Like, you have to be better. Victor Hedman's another guy. I said, like, you can't turn the puck over. Like, you got to rise to the occasion. And when your two best players aren't your best players, and you're going against a team as good as Florida, I mean, that's going to really hurt you. And I think it goes back to the third line, Dave, and you can speak on this too, is like, that third line for the Lightning, it's
been their best line.
The legend, date. Right?
It's been their best line.
The legend of the Tampa Bay Lightning's third line keeps growing year by year, right? We brought Yanni Gourde back, right? Everybody's trying to, capture some of that magic from 20, 21, and 22. And we'll always, as long as we're alive and we talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning, we're always going to talk about Yanni Gourde, Blake Coleman, and Barclay Goodrow and the magic there. And you just said, look at what the Florida Panthers were able to do. Luosterainen and Anton Lundell, and you bring in Brad Marchand, who another guy that has, discovered the fountain of youth. That third line is the line that beats you every single time, where Reinhart's hurt or Barkov doesn't score as many goals. That third line, they crush the Lightning, and that's the recipe for success. You're right on. You're spot on. They took exactly what the Lightning were able to do, and Florida has done it to a T, and they're on the precipice of going to 3 straight finals like the Lightning did.
16 wins in the Stanley Cup playoffs is a long, long road, and obviously it took the Max last year for Edmonton to almost get there, and they still fell one short. Depth is tested each and every round. It just gets harder and harder because these guys got nothing left at the end. They are basically taped together. Their things are frozen. Things are the things that these guys do go through to win a cup. It's legendary stuff, and normal people would just curl up in a ball and and go away. So, it was a combination of the top players not getting enough done, and what the will that was being enforced upon them by in this case, the Florida Panthers. And as for, the comments about, well, if we had seen this team instead of that team, hey, listen, you're going to have to see the Panthers eventually.
Right.
And, a championship caliber team doesn't worry about who they're facing. They let the other team worry about that they're facing them. And that was the attitude of the Lightning in those 3 years when they made it to 3 straight cup runs. Just get in and then beat that first round opponent. And then who's next? Let's go. Who's next? And let them worry about us. So They still have some great pieces here, starting with the goaltender, starting with a solid captain blue liner who logs a lot of minutes. It'll be very interesting to see the changes that Julien BriseBois does make. And in fact, there's already obviously been some changes off the ice in Matthew Darch, assistant GM, going to the Long Island in New York for the Islanders. They lose an associate head coach, I believe. That was his title, right? Associate head coach. Yeah. So what a great opportunity for him to go into Chicago, another Original Six team. So congrats to him. But those are a couple of key behind the scenes pieces that affect how this team goes forward. Yes, Coop's still in place. Yes, Julien BriseBois is still in place. But how these little things shift the approach, we'll see. I don't think it'll be a negative effect at all. But you want to plug somebody in those two roles that are going to help them get right back to where they were this year, which was a team that I really thought they were going to the playoffs playing well. The Bjorkstrand injury didn't help.
Yeah, that was a killer.
They make that move. You've already said they bring in Yanni Gourde. They brought in Bjorkstrand in the same deal, as you know, to address the depth that we've been talking about. And things lined up pretty good, with the emergence of Gage Gonzalez and others. Mitchell Chafee was getting some extra minutes there. And in a bottom six role, the depth wasn't too bad. And I really felt with the way they were going in and with Vasi and net that they were, objectively, they were going to beat the Panthers. And it became apparent that they just didn't have enough. So Julien BriseBois, in my experience being around this team now, is no glass half full guy. He can look at things in a black and white manner. He's not going to be all doom and gloom. He's going to realize what he does have, but he's also going to realize what he doesn't have. And there's only so much you can do, but the cap is going up. So it'll be very interesting to see how they address the depth, the size, and the pushback that was missing come these playoffs.
Yeah, Matthew Darch leaving. I know my dad's a big Islander fan. He's very happy about that. And Darcy's such a great guy, man. He's always one of the guys that always comes up at the intermission when we're, in our little corner there, and he's always making a comment about Julien. Look at Jay's shoes, Julien. I'm gonna miss that guy so much, man.
He's a great person, but if I'm an Islanders fan, if you've got Islanders fans watching your podcast, I'd be excited about this.
Yeah,
because he's very sharp. He's very intelligent. He's educated at a very high-level school in Canada called McGill in his hometown of Montreal. He played just enough to know exactly how it works on the ice, and he's been around. He knows the CBA and the salary cap maneuverings like the back of his hand, and he is a much-needed refresh to the approach of the roster build of the New York Islanders, which has been stagnant for way too long. And I think he's going to have an immediate effect. So yes, all those things you said about Darcy being a good guy, but I'm excited for him, and I think Islanders fans should be excited because he checks a lot of boxes.
Yeah, he certainly does. And with them having the number 1 overall pick, we'll see where they go. Do they go with the kid that from Long Island? Like, that'd be pretty wild. Or they go Schaefer. I mean, you have Matt Barzal, you have a great goalie in Sorokin. So hopefully for Pop and everybody that they're excited and everything works out for them. And I talked to Nigel yesterday about Jeff Blashill and what he did, because I think a lot of people may not necessarily know kind of the intricacies of what he does or what he did. And he worked a lot with the PK with Zettler, and there was also another thing, because I asked
a PK that was very good.
Yes, exactly. And I think Blashill got a lot of grief for I think it was a misinformed I don't want to say the fan base was misinformed, but I think he was catching a lot of grief for no reason. They said, some of the breakdowns, it's Blashill. So sometimes the players got to wear it too. But there was also, he was a great kind of midway guy when it comes to the communication between the video staff and the analytics guys and John Cooper and the rest of the staff, which I thought was really cool and really, really nice to hear. Do you think the Lightning tweak this roster, or do you think there's a big trade or a big move coming? I look at a guy like Mitch Marner, right? And I know the Lightning need to get tougher, and I know how much Coop loves a guy like Marner, and I know the Lightning haven't been. There's just something in the back of my mind that, the Lightning made the moves last year. They brought in Gensel. I don't know if anybody was saying that going into the postseason. I also feel like there's something, not that I think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Lightning make a crazy move, and then it's like, they might be in on Marner here because Coop loves him. I don't think that's going to happen, but nothing surprises me nowadays. Do you think it's a little tweak? Do you think it's a big change? What do you think?
It depends on what you call a tweak and a big change, and or what your definition of that is. But I don't know. Look at recent history. Trading Sergachev was a big move.
Right.
Bringing in Gensel and signing him to that big deal was a big move. Letting Steven Stamkos walk away was a big move. So
that's where I'm going. That's where I'm at, Dave. That's where I'm at. I'm glad you're picking up what I'm putting down, right? Because I look at it like, man, they've already made some of these big moves. They're not saying they will, but do they trade a Point, or I don't think they'll trade Kucherov, but a Point or a Hagel or Sorelli or Chernak or somebody like that. One of those names you're like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And then you open up cap space and now you're a player in free agency,
Yeah. The history is there. Julien is not afraid to do what is needed. He is a cold-blooded hockey executive who thinks about, when he comes out and speaks to us a few times a year and talks about their goal is to win the Stanley Cup every year and to keep this window open as long as possible. He means it. And you can't do that by standing around and just, letting things stay the same. I think we have the ability here to see, whether the Lightning or any other teams, to see some major moves here because of the cap going up, because of some players that are not necessarily RFAs, but are just maybe available because teams are looking to make a switch with extra money to spend, and whether that's a combination of trade and signing free agents or signing a free agent, a UFA like Mitch Marner is a big one. But boy, oh boy, it's interesting how perspective shifts from market to market, because in Toronto, where I just was for about a week and a half.
How was that?
Well, I was there for the whole, end of the series and Game 7 and the postmortems and all that. And they are all resigned to, Marner's out of here. You ask 10 Leaf fans, 9 of them will say, it's time for Marner to go, which means he walks away for nothing. All you get in return is cap space, which is not nothing, but it's not a player, at least not initially. And they all agree that, and now they're talking about trading, blowing up the core 4, maybe Nylander, maybe Tavares is a free agent as well. Yeah. So it's interesting. You're right. Coop loves Mitch Marner. He played him a lot in key situations. Scored the game-winning goal, I believe, in the Four Nations in the championship game against USA, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he scored the first game winner in the first game.
Oh, that's right. McDavid, of course.
McDavid scored the one against the U.S., but Marner got on that pass from Cosby in that first game.
Yes, good memory. Yeah, that's right. And he played well. So he does love him, but I don't know. I don't want to sit here on your podcast, and all I'll say is you don't have to look back too far to find some big moves by Julien BriseBois. And I know that he is he can look at his roster with an objective eye and an analytical eye, and not sit still.
Right. Dave, before I let you go, I want to ask you this, because I'm watching the Knicks game last night and, curled up in a fetal position. Talk about
what is this NBA?
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I know. It's not about the game in particular, but the reason it's a broadcasting question. So
all right.
The same relationship that you have with your kids about the Blue Jays, like that's me and my dad.
I know. I'm just
to the Knicks.
I got it.
But so Reggie Miller's on the broadcast, former Indiana Pacers star, and it's just like
had the famous moments against in Madison Square Garden.
God.
Yeah.
So his homer, I still have Reggie sucks on my parents' basement wall that I wrote in chalk in '96. So his homerism like shows through the broadcast, right? It's just it's tough because like I listen to soccer, and in soccer, like they are not. They're not afraid to speak on behalf of their allegiance and almost cheer on the broadcast. And it's almost accepted in a way. But here in the States, not as much. But this isn't a home broadcast. It's a national broadcast. And it just it's for you, a guy that, you did national broadcasts over the years. How important is that to stay unbiased? I mean, you're probably going to make people mad anyway that, they don't show enough love to us. I mean, it's one thing when, you're working with the Lightning and with Brian and stuff like that. The majority of the people that I listen to are Lightning fans. But how important was that to stay and straddle that line down the middle when you were a national broadcaster, knowing that, you're getting people listening pretty much from all over the world that are fans of different teams?
In my previous life, pre-Tampa Bay Lightning, I was on a show called Hockey Night in Canada, which is the Saturday night hockey institution, And oftentimes I'd find myself doing Calgary and Edmonton. That is one of the most bitter rivalries in the NHL, let alone in Canada. And it was, it was definitely hard to, well, not hard. It was paramount that you kept the ball down the middle of the fairway as best you could. But even if you did, and I like to think that, I've got enough experience to be able to execute that, doesn't matter because at the end of the day, Oilers fans still think I'm cheering for the Flames. Flames fans still think I'm cheering for the Oilers. And this guy is just, and of course it's accentuated if the game is in Edmonton and the crowd's cheering when McDavid scores, or if it was in Calgary, Matthew Tkachuk at the time, or the late Johnny Gaudreau scored one of his great goals and the crowd's great. And, my voice rises along with the crowd. So you cannot win that one at all. I haven't watched any of the broadcasts that you're referring to. I know of the history for sure. If it's really coming through, then that's probably not right. Unless he just doesn't care.
That could be it too.
Right? It's like my knowledge of Reggie Miller is he's going to do what he wants to do.
Exactly.
And the executives may wrap his knuckles, but I'm just Reggie Miller, and people know my history, and I'm not going to take my Pacers jammies off that I'm wearing underneath my suit here. So there could be that at play, but then you roll into a role like I've got now, and I think we've discussed this before. I came in with the knowledge that I definitely had to shift away from what I just talked about, being neutral to more Lightning. Now, the Lightning didn't say to me. In fact, the guy who hired me said, "No, we don't want you to be full-on Homer guy."
Right.
But so over the 5 seasons I've done it now, I think I've definitely gone from here to about here in terms of being more Lightning friendly. And that took a while for me to recognize. And I'm sure there's fans watching right now that probably still think I'm not Lightning enough.
No, I don't think so.
Well, it's okay because I invite anybody to listen to my goal calls and tell me if I'm not leaning into a Kucherov goal or a point goal. It's I get it, and I listen. I'm a fan too. Yeah. I watch the games too. I watch the Blue Jays, and I want to hear my guys. And I want, if you're your team, you want to hear your guy. Now we do sprinkle in facts and storylines from the opposition, which is that's Brian and I's. That's our approach. Yeah, but we certainly don't. We certainly don't go overboard on it. But as for your original question, is it right or wrong? It's probably not. It's probably not right at that level. But again, it's Reggie Miller, and he's going to do it.
Yeah, you got that right, buddy. No, I think you guys do such a great job with a well-rounded broadcast because we do have a lot of transplants here in Tampa too. And I think that's important to understand is that, you're playing a certain amount of times against the Detroit Red Wings. There's a bunch of Detroit people here too. So to be able to get a little bit of a background on the Dylan
Larkin.
The background. Just the background. That's it. No, yeah, you don't have to talk about Dylan Larkin, what he likes to do on a Friday night when he's not at the rink. I'm with you. Real quick, Dave, what are you doing in the offseason, buddy? Golf and more golf or what?
I just play. Yeah, I'm trying to play as much golf and catch up with as much stuff with my wife here at home that you miss out all the time. You miss when you're consumed by the season. Thank goodness my wife enjoys and tolerates my love for watching hockey games. So we generally watch the games here at night, but that'll come to an end soon. And we got a couple of trips planned and some friends to see, but a little bit of downtime. But I certainly once the summer creeps into August, I certainly start looking forward to camp and getting going again because when you love what you do, you don't like to be away from it long.
You got that right. When you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. You are one of the best, if not the best in the game, my friend. And I'm so glad that we've become friends over the years. I feel like I get so much smarter every time I talk to you. So the one and only Dave Randorf, the voice of our Tampa Bay Lightning. Thanks, my friend. Enjoy your summer. Hit them straight, and we'll talk soon, buddy.
Thanks very much. Thanks, everybody. And if you see me on a patio somewhere, come up and say hi.
You got it. Thanks, Dave. All right, pal. Good stuff.